Magnets, crystals, pyramids.
Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Welcome home, family, and join us for the fun. Colorful guest people everywhere under the sun. Interesting conversations. Prayers first has begun. Invocation, manifestation, conversation then will come. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Let's start drinking some water, juice or tea. King Killer's recommended for you and me. Guayusa mixed together, maple syrup or honey. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Learn from the healers, crystals, pyramids. Learn from the healers, the artists, the seers, authors and teachers, dissolving your fears. Workshops of wisdom, the circle is wide. Plant medicine whispers, the planets align. All magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Crystals and pyramids, magnets that spin. Organ awakening the power within. Tantra and herbs, the gateways ignite. Shamanic drums calling truth into light. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Psychedelics painting vision so bright. Planetary activists guarding the night. Awareness expanding the cosmos in view. Higher vibrations are flowing through you. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Hey. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Xenon and herbs, you'll feel much better. Drink your tea now instead of later. Stay ahead of your health. Health is always your greatest wealth. Oh, no, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Hey. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Mad science fun, terror bless. Experiments under the sun. Sacred fire, prayers begun. Success and happiness, your destiny has come. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Yeah, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Learn from the healers, the artists, the seers, authors and teachers, dissolving your fears. Workshops of wisdom, the circle is wide. Plant medicine whispers, the planets align. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Yeah, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, crystals and pyramids, magnets that spin. Organ awakening the power within. Tantra and herbs, the gateways ignite. Shamanic drums calling truth into light. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Oh, magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Islam. Welcome, everyone, to Moorish Monday with Abdullah, Talib, Mosi Bey. on Magnus Crystals Pyramids YouTube and Moroccan Post Media YouTube. Welcome everyone. All right, for the second time, live and direct, Tarik Bay, y'all.
Alhamdulillah.
Excellent.
Vadi Makum. Shalom. Bonabot.
Is it on my end? Is your volume low? It sounds like your volume's low.
Let me see.
Let me ask the guests comments. Is the volume low? Continue talking, Taj.
Is the volume too low?
Is the volume too low, everyone? Volume's good. All right.
All right.
All right, volume's good.
All right.
But I can hear you though. Yep. Yeah. So great, everyone. Welcome. Welcome once again. I want to, this is my second, man, this is 2 years. 2-year anniversary, y'all. Yay. On Magnus Crystal, once again, I've said several times, Hank reached out to me in November 2023 and offered Moorish Monday to me. And I've had about 40 guests on in a 2-year period. So definitely excited about that. This is my second time with Tarik Bay. Tarik Bay, we are 33rd. This is week on the 34th year. 34th year.
Yeah.
34th year. We celebrated 33 years in October.
Yeah, don't time fly.
I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Moors and Masonry. This is Tarik Bay's title, as I mentioned before when he was on. Moors and Masonry's Tarik Bay's title, and a feature article in the 3rd edition of the Al Moroccan Star newspaper, 2001, 24 years ago. I want to read the acknowledgement that I have in my book for Taj. Tarik Bay. I owe much gratitude to my brother Taj for opening up his library to me. He exposed me to a whole new world of light, guiding me on the journey of freedom. Brother Taj is a true liberator, breathing life into Noble Drew Ali's insightful wisdom. In order to change the people, you must change their literature. So I humbly present this light with the guidance of the great cosmic mother to humanity. Thank you, Brother Taj, for inspiring me to write. So this is some Moors and Masonry. This is over 20 years of research, and it's been actually celebrating the 9th year anniversary.
Yeah,
the 9th year anniversary of Moors and Masonry came out in December of 2016. This is the 9th year anniversary of Moors and Masonry Part 1.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, time flies. Yeah, Taj knows. He knows. Yeah, yes. So definitely we're going to delve right into the topic. How nationality outweighs race and color. Absolutely. I have somebody put the Israel or Amanda or Albert, or y'all have it. Somebody put the questions in the chat. The questions are on my Facebook page. I posted on 10 different group pages. It's on my Facebook page. I posted like 4 or 5 times already. Posted out 15 minutes ago for the last time, just before I came on. The questions are on the Abdullah Bay Facebook page. All right, so we're going to delve right in. Hank will probably put up my website, moorsandmasonry.org. That's moorsandmasonry.org. Anyone who is interested in getting, here we go. Thank you, Hank. Moors and Masonry Part 1, Moors and Masonry Part 2, how Masonic compass square and the connection and measurement and timekeeping, how Venus and moon rule, etymology and vocabulary, Supplementary 1, the Illuminati and the Illumination of the Mind, go to morrisandmasonry.org. In fact, Taj remembers when I took my first class in etymology at Temple University Pan-African Studies Community Education Program. In fact, I had Taj several times. I would have Taj at least once or twice a semester as a guest speaker. Yep. Now, of course, you remember Professor Burton, and so you remember Richard Bailey, because Taj attended my in 1998. He attended a couple classes with me. Yeah, so we're going to delve right in. Once again, yes, before we get started, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Let people know that we're on. We're live and direct. All right, post this on your social media page right now. Let people know. Welcome. Blow the horn, everyone. Sound the horn. We're live and direct. Ride with us for 2 hours. Thank you for your support over a 2-year period and over a 33-year period. For you. So once again, Brother Taj, greatly appreciate you.
Isn't it interesting? Some of the babies, when we were doing classes, like roundtable classes at my house, have their own children.
Yep. I know, right? Yep. So we're going to delve right in. The first question.
Yeah.
Do our people call themselves black, or is it an act of subjugation, culture, racial, or culture genocide? Once again, do our people call themselves black, or is it an international law act of subjugation, to culture, racial, culture, and culture genocide?
All right. First we got two issues there. We got one issue of the etymon, which is the etymology of the word. Then you have the issue of the social engineering operations. Then you have the issue of Romanus Pontifex, from which the motive comes, and Dum Diversus Unum Sanctum. And so this is, again, even with the value of the research that you've done over the years, and also you presenting not only Moors and Masonry, but also your other books. Because most of the people, when they look at the different areas of the human condition by the training operations of the people who have controlled the operations here, they look at things as separate, and you have to look at it all. And this is the question arises from a disconnect between ancient and modern history and geography and anthropology, inclusive of etymology. And also this is relative to, from the social engineering perspective, why those who have been occupying our land and occupying the people separate them as subject matters, because they would be self-explanatory, as an example. So we know that the word, number one, that the word black is Middle English, and so therefore when we look into the linguistic structure, we know we're dealing around 1150 area to 1700s in that area in general, and that's derived from Old High German, which actually means white spot, pale colors, etc. So we already know not only is it an adjective, it has no bio application. So that's self-explanatory. So then we have to look at it from a social interchange or an anthropological perspective or a geopolitical perspective, and it's apparent that is used for some other agenda. Now, whether we know that from the history record that the intent is pejorative, however, just looking at the meaning of the word, the origin of the word, the history of the word is very
Hold on, Taj. Hey, hold on, Taj. Brother Hank, we have the music in the background. Somebody was in the chat. Brother Hank.
Got you, bro.
All right, thank you. Yeah, somebody mentioned. All right, thank you. All right.
So it's not only what is known by any, and we gotta put things out there like it is, Abdullah. We know that people who read, so we're not talking about people who are students of readers. We're talking about anyone that has basic grammatical skills. That means any teacher from any discipline knows that the word black applied to humans is pejorative, without doubt. Whether or not they address it, that's determined to their own agenda, if you get the whole point. But the assumption that people didn't know that it's pejorative, or that it's a social engineering application to the people of Moabite Canaanite descent is inexcusable. It is only because it hasn't been taught, general etymology hasn't been taught to the general masses by social engineering design under animal husbandry, particularly after 1902 and the establishment of the General Education Board with John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates. We know that there was a political agenda behind it. And not only with the time period, dealing with 1100 to 1150 in the area to about 1700, you already know, for anyone who could read, simply look at its basic etymology and know that it's pejorative, without someone even making it an issue. So it's obvious that it has some nefarious sociological intent in its application, which is pejorative. Meaning, if you weren't even looking at it from any other perspective, just by knowing the etymology, it becomes obvious that it's not accidentally applied, but that it's also not properly applied or properly used. So basic, if we're dealing with basic third grade, we're not even talking about junior high school. We're not talking about elementary school. We're talking about lower elementary school, third grade level grammatication. The word black is first an adjective, so we already know it has no bio meaning. It has no bio application. Therefore, it is an objective application, and therefore it can't apply to a living human hominidae being, except as a slur or some other agenda. Now, the history will expose the agenda. However, from an etymological perspective, it's already dismissed as a proper nomen applied to hominidae or to a human. That's number one. So that's the etymology. And of course, you can expand on that. But the first thing I want to relate to that is that all people who can read already know this. And one of the violations against the people is people who have been in position of leadership or teaching, not addressing that honorably indicates their actual agenda, whether admitted or not. Now, so we know that. And is there any other part of that question that I didn't apply?
No, that was good. This was good. Yeah, this is yeah, that was good. Good answer. Good answer.
So that immediately dismisses it as any instrumentality or any literature that refers to the natural people under the black nom de guerre or brand as an ancient history is immediately lying, which is easily told without even just simply looking at it etymologically, without even having any other agenda of comprehension or understanding. And this, again, this is why people who really can read really don't excuse so-called black leaders and teachers pretending that our people are black, because they have to be pretending because they can read.
All right, so we're going to go to the next question.
And I say that to say that it's not debatable, really, although people debate it. It's sort of like somebody arguing that they have to litigate whether 1 and 1 is 2 or not based on who says it.
Now we did now so we addressed black. We addressed the word black.
Yes.
Now the next question. Why do the masses of people, and this is pretty much parts of this is in different parts of the world as well. Why do masses of people use the words white, and we already addressed black, but white, black, red, yellow, and brown for people of the human family, for the people of the family of nations?
Now this goes
/ human family.
This goes to the geopolitics and knowing the history. And so we would more or less approach some of the influence of the social engineering from, let's say, Blumenbach and Carlos Linnaeus, who's generally known as Carl Linnaeus. Carlos Linnaeus, who's usually referred to as Carl Linnaeus, but that's Carlos Linnaeus. All right. So this is where you get the phenotype operations of the race paradigm that people are mentally locked in these modern days. And that's around 1758 area, something like that. All right. And that comes from one of his books, I think the 10th edition, as you all noticed, dealing with classification of hominidae. And so they created the code or they adopted or addressed or expanded on what was loosely used as a code system for social classification or a caste system, the white, yellow, red type thing and stuff like that. And so when you're dealing with that too also exposes all scholars who pretending that there's ancient white history or ancient black history. Even presenting that argument by any scholar is indicative of a disqualification of their titles of scholarship that they have been claiming and putting on our people. So there's two things involved there. Either they're minion operators for the genocidal operations of Unum Sanctum, because if they have a title and they can read, that's obvious. Because if they're looking at the word black and the social engineering application, they would reject it regardless of anything else. No different than if someone knows basic math, basic arithmetic. You would not be arguing about an interpretation that 2 and 3 is 5, but because somebody else from a part of the world spoke it, it becomes 6.5 or something like that. Same thing. And so knowing that black is pejorative, then you would start looking at the socialization angle. How did this come? You would be thinking logically, how did this come about that human beings have been classified under a color system, which is in itself not natural? That's number one. So a thinker would say, where did this come from? And of course, as soon as you do research, you'd find most people would talk about Linnaeus. And so you would look at this phenotype operations of hominidae or human species, and they would call it among themselves varieties. But the general race paradigm that people use in the contemporary time has its strength origin around Linnaeus's operations of the phenotype of the human family. And so if someone's looking at the so-called race issue, even to talk about race as a subject matter in any intellectual form or any study form, you would immediately go to at least Linnaeus. And the evidence itself is there, meaning that like anything else, if you're studying or if you have any kind of a problem, whether it's mathematical, scientific, food, biological, horticulture, you would simply look at the component parts related to the subject matter to lead you to a basis of origin, because you're still dealing with etymology. The principles of etymology still applies in general research, general scientific research. No bias, general scientific research would lead you to Linnaeus if you're talking race. And apparently, if you're dealing with 1758, you already know that whole race paradigm, if you take it beyond that, somebody's lying. So that would immediately make the being aware that they're being engineered socially with an agenda. Then you start looking at, who has this agenda? And what is this agenda tied to? What was the motivation? What's the origin? And the same principle that is applied in etymology as a rule is applied to history as a rule, because they're all tied together. And the more that you look at this stuff, you can look at almost every discipline with the principles that are applied in basic etymology study, applies in general to analytical study of any subject matter. But since we're talking about humans, it becomes apparent that it's a socially engineered operation. Now you would start trying to go past that to find the actual origins of the Asiatics or African peoples or the European peoples, and you would deal with what you call an anthropological footnote and notification and put the pieces together. And not only would you find out the real true origin and meaning of the words that are applied to these people, you'd find out the history of how these things came about at the same time. Then you look at the timeline, then it becomes obvious that someone or some body of people thoughtfully, with an agenda, constructed a paradigm of thought or narratives to present to the masses. Then you'd have to look at, what was their agenda? And of course, then you'll find the real history. And that's how you get past the reconstructed history that has been controlled, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, relative to the Asiatic people at North America that have been branded Negro, Black, or colored. And it becomes obvious even to a child that it is not only BS, and it's not only intellectually negative and pejorative, but it is actually expository of a corrupted agenda of whoever is presenting it, no matter who it is. And also inexcusable, meaning if anybody can read, they can't excuse to be having been confused about any of this. And if they say they can read, or if they have a title of any teaching title and they have to be corrected, that means they're corrupt, either deliberately or they're disqualified. And that's not opinion, that's the math of the information. What you call cause and effect. Basically what's obvious. And one of the interesting things I find, Brother Abdullah, over the years is how people who have titles or have been teaching, when presented with even these questions that you've asked, will in private admit to it and then turn around and go right back out in the public venue and promote the Linnaeus paradigm as if it's valid, and then pretend to be trying to solve the so-called race problem with our people.
All right. Once again, those who are just joining us, welcome to Moorish Monday with Abdullah, Talib, Mosi Bey on Magnus Crystal Pyramids YouTube and Moroccan Post Media YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, ding, ding, ding. All right. And let people know that we're on live and direct. We've been rolling for about 25 minutes. Definitely, we'll continue here. Also, once again, somebody put the questions in the chat. The questions are on my Facebook page, the Abdullah-based Facebook page, and also posted on 10 different group pages. So we'll go right to the third question. What long-lasting effects has the international law act of subjugation, stripping our people of our cultural identity, nationality, and removing our Moorish sovereignty, has on our people?
in layman's terms, in just lay language, ordinary everyday language, where the question relates to what would simply be called, what are the social, political, educational, and economic effects of colonization of the Western Hemisphere by hybrid Europeans, generally referred to as the Colombo expedition type thing, 1492. In general, that's for the general subject matter. Then, of course, when you go into the history of Iberia, which we know Europe is really Iberia, we know that. So once you start researching, then you find out that what is known as Europe is Iberia. Then you start looking at the war records, etc., and then you start seeing how this came about in the Western Hemisphere with this colonial effect. So now you start looking at the agenda. That's how it's easy to find why and how and what is done with this social engineering of this race paradigm, and you find its connection to an agenda of conquest. And so now you're looking at motive. Then you look at parties. Who are the parties? Then you discover, whoa, these people who have been major targets of these color code systems, mean subjugated, aren't at all who they've been claiming to be. These are descendants of ancient Canaanite Moabite peoples, commonly known in history as Moors, or descendants of Moroccans, which is Al-Moroccans, sometimes called Americans. So now you start recognizing that somebody's been doing identity theft. And also what can be called in international law, biometric frauds. Biometric frauds. And so that would be dealing with people who would really be doing what you would call reversion of estate suits on a more a litigated measure, meaning that people who are seriously countering them, dealing with international venue, they would be charging the colonists with biometric frauds. And people need to get familiar with that too, because that would be where the real arguments would be. And as a matter of fact, that's really the problems that we're dealing with in actuality. And this is why it takes people who are willing to do research to start looking at what these things really are, because they're going to have to be addressed in order to balance out civilizations, so that social order doesn't eventually collapse by virtue of the layers of corruption that false information has developed or promoted and cultivated. Is there a part of the question that I have not addressed?
No, absolutely. No, that's great. And this is a statement here. In 1684, Francois Benaire organized his new division of the earth, whereby he placed the people of the human family to classifications: Europeus, Americanus, Asiaticus, and Afra. And as you mentioned, it was called Linnaeus in his 10th edition of Systema Naturae, 10th edition, 1758, that he added the black, white, red, and yellow, and he used Latin words, albus, whoopensons, fucus, and Niger. And those are the words that Carl Linnaeus did that. Carl Linnaeus is the one that added associated those words, and with the modern English translation, black, white, red, and yellow, to Carl Linnaeus' Francois Benaire's already existing classification structure in his 1684 new division of the earth. And Todd broke that down with Carl Linnaeus. And now we have here, and you pretty much answered this. I'm going to ask the question for what is the origin of the common understanding meaning associated with the word color, complexion, skin tone, pigmentation, as used by the EEOC, as Equal Opportunity, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and the United States courts, using the common understanding meaning of the word color. What is the origin of the thought of associating the words, associating complexion, skin tone, and pigmentation to the word color?
So now you're still going back to Linnaeus.
You're going back to Linnaeus. Yeah, I wanted to ask that particular question for the audience, to know that the EOC and the United States courts use the common understanding meaning of the word color.
Now, and
not the legal meaning. They don't use the legal meaning of the word color. They use the common understanding meaning of the word color.
Yes, so connotative, not denotative necessarily. Now, and so now we still have to go back to it becomes obvious soon as you look at these things, it becomes obvious that there's a narrative origin that has a social engineering agenda behind it. That's obvious. How do you say not debatable? Meaning that it stands out. It stands out like a wind. It's obvious, meaning that it's indisputable. Whether or not someone's willing to address it is another issue. But this is back to where sociologists and scholars have no excuse of pretending they didn't know, or that they don't know, or that it's questionable whether or not our people are Negro, black, colored, and all these brand pejorative nom de guerre that have been applied to them in contemporary times. So it obvious goes back to Linnaeus. So that it becomes obvious that there's a political agenda organized of people coming together to apply this into the social fabric. So now you would start looking at the agendas. One of them that would be common with most people today that they could relate to would be the suppression and dissolution of the Southern Education Board and the adoption of the General Education Board 1902 by John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, with a designed and determined and formulated agenda of what can be commonly referred to in these days as a political effort of creating a narrative structured of what can be loosely referred to as a dumbed down weapon, using education as the tool. That's obvious. So you would look at animal husbandry training as a method of human farming that was consciously applied officially 1902, General Education Board. So look at that. And then you look at where connotative linguistics was consciously applied as a social engineering narrative weapon. Even with what is earlier conversed with us, with the adjective black being applied biometrically as a bio-human identity. So it becomes obvious there's a deliberate misclassification of the word. So by virtue of simply doing that research, it becomes obvious that language has been weaponized consciously, meaning it wasn't a natural, what you say, colloquial evolution.
Yeah.
That it was Actually,
as these scholars so as they put in their books, words naturally evolve.
yes,
No, no,
or that the people called themselves
no.
anything. No, it was put on them. In other words, like, it's interesting, Brother Abdullah, that when you just look at this stuff, etymology, it gives you history that you weren't looking for by default. This is another reason why scholars aren't excused, because it becomes obvious. But until someone who knows etymology points it out, most people don't pay attention. But that's also because the animal husbandry training for them not paying attention, including the training of not paying attention to when they're looking at words, to pay attention to its classification or the part of speech before going into the definition, whether connotative or denotative. And then looking at its etymology and then putting the timeline on it, which of course all scholars are trained in that anyway. This is another reason why they're not excused. So that misunderstanding and lack of knowing that those who have perpetrated whatever venues of it, so-called education that they promoted are found guilty by their own negligence, direct and indirect.
We're going to go to the next question. What is the meaning of the United States Supreme Court Justice Daniels' statement in the Dred Scott versus Stanford case, 1857? I'm going to read it. That the African Negro race never have acknowledged as belonging to the family of nations, that as amongst them there never has been known or recognized by the inhabitants of other countries anything partaking of the character of nationality or civil or political polity, that this race has been by all nations of Europe regarded as subjects of capture or purpose.
That's quite evidentiary. So what is he saying? He's really saying, if from a legal or lawful perspective, to have a complaint, to use national or international law, because you deal with diversity if there's a controversy between two parties or nations. Therefore, the parties having been named, Dred Scott would have to be one of a nationality in order to claim treaty, diversity, or constitutional protection, because he would have to be a party. That's number one. Number two, therefore, void of that by taking on one of the brand systems as an identity, that's an avoidance of heritability, whether deliberate or by some other cause not stated necessarily. He is void of constitutional or treaty protections and obligations that are in place to protect nations or people of nations in diversity argument, which would be found in Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution for the United States. And being Dred Scott was clearly not of the European stock, the law, as standing on the law on the land, would be Article 3, Section 2, dealing with treaty. So you're dealing with Article 3 or Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States. And when you trace the parties, that would be the origin of the parties of people of Europe and people of Moorish descent, from which that structure was formed, both the treaty and the Constitution. Now, from a pedigree, from an actuality of pedigree, Dred Scott would have been, by right of law, Moorish descent, but he claimed to be African American or some other venue that has its origin in the Linnaeus doctrine.
Yeah, Negro.
Negro,
All right, so
which
now
the word Negro has its origin from troglodyte nigger, which is essentially the Pongidae species, or gorilla or monkey. That's where its origin is, coming from troglodyte nigger. That's the scientific name.
And in Spanish, it's used for inanimate objects. In the Spanish, the Spanish word it's used for inanimate objects, not for human.
Yeah, in that exactly. And so human rights can't apply to an inanimate object. Now, if one is standing before a tribunal of humans, the human family expanded has nationalities that deal with specific jurisdictional heritabilities, corporal and incorporeal. Now, someone who is captured, or what is referred to as denationalized, would be classified as either property for a use or purpose outside of the human family, which is why the political operations of denationalization under colonial operations has been used as a tool. So therefore, for Dred Scott to be outside of that misclassification of the Linnaeus doctrine, which would be property, or what is commonly referred to as chattel, for rights to apply, he would have to make the argument as what is known as diversity. And so he would have to name the nation state to which he belonged and show that the court has both jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction and territorial jurisdiction in order to claim a right on the land. Therefore, the plaintiff obviously is in error. But also for the litigants, or for those who are running the court, to really express the real reasons for the plaintiff being in error, would it also expose themselves? So they just simply did with a litigated charge or report of denial by virtue of the status of the being. Thus, plaintiff in error.
Now, Taj, this statement is not known by many people, though. This statement here, by Justice Daniels' statement.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
They do not know this statement.
Yes, you know,
and then you would have Europeans. Now, there'll be Europeans, and Europeans who want to continue to push our denationalization, dehumanization, will call Justice Daniels a racist. Justice, yes. This statement is a factual statement.
It's still back to Linnaeus saying
this statement is a factual statement.
Yes.
So I support Justice Daniels because this statement is a factual statement.
Because he's telling the truth.
He's telling the truth. He's telling the truth.
They're not, which you already know.
Well, of course.
Understanding that they're occupying.
Right. Of course.
People. They're not going to say we're occupying you.
No, of course.
You.
Right.
But every man, woman, and child must confess their own by natural law to be heritable, and that the right of nations, or the bodies, or the people who are members of the nations, are preserved among people who are party to nations by either treaty or constitutions, both of which are constitutions. Therefore, you must bring up the constitution or the treaty that shows the venue their obligation to you to preserve or protect your right. Technically, if you don't know your right, you ain't got one. And also, if you don't have a nationality, you can't claim the right to a constitution that has no origin with you. Because your body, by heritability, have to have evidentiary production or participation in the rule of law that you're seeking for your protection. You are in error till you do that. Now you're getting into the value, the actual important law value of nationality. Another thing that can be looked at while looking at, and this is interesting too, Brother Abdullah. So the Dred Scott case, what's that? 54 to 57 in there in that area of time.
Yeah.
Is now for the everyday scholar, particularly some of the people who are looking or sharing with us on the show tonight, should look at the William Dungy case, 1852 to 1854 area, just before Dred Scott case, put them together and study it, and it's obvious. And in the Dungy case, that's the case that Abraham Lincoln actually defended William Dungy relative to the removal of his right of status dealing with the black codes. And they refer to him generally in history as Black Bill. And the argument and upon which Abraham Lincoln, being a lawyer at that time, argued the case was that he was not Negro, black, and colored, but he was indeed a Moor. And that was the basis of him having a right or standing in law to his right of self. And so that look at the William Dungy case, and then look at the plaintiff in error in the Dred Scott case, which came just after the Dungy case, and the argument is obvious. And so again, that also supports what you just said. That judge was right in everything that he said, but he wasn't there to defend Dred Scott. He was simply explaining what the situation was.
Yeah.
He was identifying the faults. But the people, if they're caught in the narrative of racism as contemporarily taught, they look at it as an affront, as an attack. But that's only because mentally they've adopted the black paradigm status that itself is a fraud. And so they're trying to measure from an assumed right that is actually a trained wrong.
Yep. All right. Now, this is what I did. This is Abdullah Bey. I adjusted the statement that the Moors have been acknowledged. So what does this statement mean?
On multiple levels.
That the Moors have been acknowledged as belonging to the family of nations. That as amongst them, there has been known or recognized by the inhabitants of the other countries partaking of the character of nationality or civil or political polity.
Yes.
That the Moors have been by all nations of Europe as people of treaty, diplomatic, and consular relations.
They've never hid that.
No, I'm saying that's Abdullah Bey. What I did was, I want you to explain to the audience what does that statement mean. What I did was, I took Justice Davis's statement and put more there. I removed African Negro race and I put more there. And I put have been acknowledged.
Yes.
Have been recognized.
Isn't that
so
also verified?
What does that statement mean?
What it means is, from my perspective, that they're putting the certain facts out there in a sterile statement. But the obligation of detailed
No, remember
refined.
this is Abdullah Bey.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm just saying.
That came. What I did was I made the adjustment.
All right. So
I made the adjustment. No, I made the adjustment. I made the adjustment.
I would look at it as sterile, indisputable facts that any researcher can find. It is upon that determination, anyone who wants to know would look at those sterile facts, do the basic refined research, and it becomes obvious that it applies and also clarifies.
And I have that in Mosi Part 1 and 2. Have been acknowledged, have been recognized,
yes,
have been known,
yes,
by other European nations,
yes,
partaking of a character and nationality.
And I also would say that, and this is not unlike or unconnected or disconnected from what I implied earlier. Anyone who could read that does a little bit of research, and particularly people who have done any what you call serious application of dealing with the social, political, economic issues with our people, would apparently come to the same conclusions you came to. The fact that Moors and Masonry is a rare book among our people is inexcusable, but also complimentary. Because, it's sort of like, and it's not because we're brothers and historical friends, is because it is sort of like once you really look at it before you get even deep in it, intellectually or emotionally, it's so surface evidentiary, you wonder, why aren't there a lot of books like that? Because it's not like it's so deep that the average person couldn't find it. Meaning that anyone does any low level
information out there. I got over 80 references in the bibliography.
It's there.
No, I was there. Oh no, I mean, I found over 100 since the book came out. Since Mosi Part 1 came out, I found an additional 100 references or so since Mosi Part came out 9 years ago.
My implication is, why is the issue still even debatable? We're not talking about among Europeans. We're talking about people among our own that claim scholarship and claim to be caring about solving the conditions.
In my eyes, they're not scholars. They're not scholars to me.
No, we're talking about what people.
Oh, I know they claim. They also the claim. That's their claim. I don't. Yeah, I'll be refuting their claim. I'm refuting them.
If somebody claims to be a doctor or a scholar and they wrote books talking about Black people and stuff like that, respectfully, I hold them to their claim until they prove.
You could refute the claim can be refuted now. I mean,
this is what it said in law. Let me come at you this way. In law, in lawful litigation on information and facts, it is said, 1, ignorance of the law is no excuse. It is predicated on this point, that if someone claims to be something that causes a value to be transferred from one person to another, that they are held on that claim. And this is where you look at law cases, whether you're dealing with corporate people who are hiding behind LLCs or some corporate entity, and a magistrate dealing with the facts would say, when they say, oh, well, we didn't know that caused the injury, and the magistrate would say, an argument under color of law is not acceptable, meaning that you can't use ignorance as an excuse for causing injury to another, that transfers to another a right, a liberty, or a property. Therefore, a tort or a transfer or
be tort.
trespass is there in evidence. And in basic litigation, that's basically what you're looking at. You're looking at people's either rights or properties, hereditaments. And even when you're dealing with social norms, you're dealing with organized principles that are based on the principle that my rights are with me as long as I don't interfere with your rights, and vice versa. And basic rules of social order are generally built around that area. Meaning that, and thus they say, ignorance of the law is no excuse, because it's basic common sense. Meaning, don't step on your feet and act like I didn't hurt you. And don't use words in any kind of structure to take your fez or to steal your glasses and pretend that I didn't know that I was taking something that didn't belong to me. That's basically what it's saying. So when back to the William Dungy case, when Lincoln was arguing on behalf of William Dungy, the argument in his basics was that Black and Negro, etc., didn't apply to him in any reality, no matter what it is done in the social format. But his pedigree is more, and therefore he has standing in the human family. That's basically what won the case. And that supersedes the Dred Scott case. And it's interesting, Abdullah, when where so many scholars refer to the Dred Scott case, and interesting how in support of the argument, because most of them played a race game, I suspect that's why they don't address the William Dungy case, which by timeline just superseded and overlapped the Dred Scott case. And it would be interesting, because they're so related, why don't they argue those cases together to make it very clear why the Dred Scott case terminated with plaintiff in error? Because it becomes obvious if you read the William Dungy case. Meaning that here you're dealing with 1852 to 1857 timeline. Two cases dealing with the argument of race and the status. Both of those cases dealt with that. And both of those cases dealt with rights, the preservation of or the loss of rights and liberties. Both of those cases. The William Dungy case superseding the Dred Scott case. The scholars always argue in the Dred Scott case, leaving that vagueness there, when the William Dungy case that superseded it clarifies the whole argument, and also makes it clear why the Dred Scott case, which most of the scholars will address, is plaintiff in error. It's obvious. And that's like someone who's looking at it honestly from a scholarship and a law perspective, know what you presented is correct. Know that what that magistrate said was actually correct. They attack him because of their perception of the race paradigm of the Linnaeus doctrine that has been adopted into the social structure of the United States Corporation Company that has been presented in contemporary times as a country, which is also a fraud and misrepresentation, that support and structured the social dynamics of the Linnaeus doctrine within the social training that terminates in the Dred Scott case mentality. You know, in other words, like, as soon as you do a little bit of historical research, this stuff, this engineering stuff is right there in front of your face. And I'm not supporting or condemning anyone. I'm just saying anybody who does any reading relative to that becomes clearly cognate of that our people's concepts about race are incorrect. and that their acceptance of the color code system is pejorative and incorrect, which kind of puts our people in a position of responsibility of not necessarily accepting mistreatments, but we kind of hard to keep condemning the Europeans for rejection of our people in the social structure from a status perspective.
But we talk about subjugation. So let's go back to subjugation.
Yes.
And let's go back to the question. Let's go back to this question. All right. Let me go. I want to revisit this question. Do our people, and you address this very thoroughly, but I want to bring you back to this question. Do our people call themselves black, or is it an act? Is it an international law act of subjugation, cultural erasure, culture genocide?
Now let me clarify. It has been since its origin promoted and pushed out on an international venue, but its origin is not international. Its origin is with the hybrid Europeans who defeated the Moors, and then
No, I'm not talking about its origin. I'm talking about the act. Let me make the question again. Let me read the question again.
Yes.
Do our people call themselves black, or is it an act? Meaning, and you explained it well that this was put on us.
Exactly.
So it's not that we called ourselves. It's not a choice on us. It's not as if we were in that we had a knowledge. That's like you had the Chinese.
Yes. To say that we called ourselves,
right?
The
there we go.
Itself implies that the origin was with us. It was not, is not.
That you got it. You got it. You had it the first time anyway. You had it already.
It has no historical or political standing. So the question itself is kind of like conclusive when it shouldn't. It need to be cleaned up.
But no. Say yes. Is it an international act of subjugation, meaning that element of subjugation is whereby a state, culture, racial, stripping a people of their cultural identity, renaming and reclassifying a people. Those are acts of subjugation.
We're identifying now.
The black are being renamed and reclassified as black. Cultural, racial, to stripping is an international law act of subjugation. So I'm saying, is it that, or is it that we call ourselves black? That we call ourselves black, or is it?
It is the latter.
Yes.
However, I want to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
For the
and I just wanted to clear that up for the audience. It's important that we clear things up for the audience.
The divine being who projected that question. This is for your research in the international venue. Biometric fraud. Write that down, do your research, come back to Abdullah later with your answers. That's an interjection and a subject on its own that must be addressed in this contemporary time for solution.
So with that, the Europeans, that means that you're not, let me clear it up, not Europeans. Because I can't say European. When you're talking international law, I can't say Europeans.
That's what I was.
Let's listen up, y'all. This is good. So understand why I corrected myself, because I was in error. You can't say Europeans. That's not a nation state.
Exactly.
We're talking international law. You're saying subjugation is done by a state, i.e. United States, i.e. France, i.e. Spain.
Yes.
All right. i.e. Great Britain. States.
So you're dealing with.
All right. State.
You're dealing with UK.
that takes a people of a foreign state, of another state, right?
Yes.
So a state in a state.
Now,
So that's why it's not. I can't. There's not. You're not going to United Nations. You're not going to by saying European. That's not a state. You have to identify the state. United States, France, Spain. So I'm teaching you international law. I got to be very specific. We ain't gonna say no Europeans. We're not gonna say Europeans. We're gonna say United States. We'll say Spain. We're gonna say France.
Exactly. Interjection. So now we're talking about UK, Circle Church and Chancery, Spain, Portugal mainly. Those are the ones in the front. Even though you have secondary actors, those are the main ones. So then you would deal with the heads of those states, and because the physical bodies of the actors, you have what you call political descendant, corporate descendancy. And so that you would be, when you're talking about the nation states, you would be talking about the party heads by political descendancy. So that would be the international or the geopolitical agenda of those who would be classified in suit. And one of the reasons why they keep promoting, and it's including compromised people on our side, keep promoting the Linnaeus race paradigm, is to avoid accountability while pretending to, pacify the people as if they're trying to solve the problem when they're really not. But they know that if people don't know about the social engineering, the Carlos Linnaeus doctrine paradigm, etc., and national identities, that they would always be able to dance around solutions and dance around accountability while pretending to be addressing accountability.
I want to go to the third guy. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach.
Blumenbach, yeah.
Now Blumenbach. So now we're looking at Francois Bernier, 1685, New Division of the Earth. Carlo Linnaeus, and he had 10 editions from 1713 to 1758 with his 10th edition. Now, in his 10th edition, as Taj mentioned, in his 10th edition is when he added the black, white, red, and yellow in the Latin words. Now, called Johann Friedrich Blumenbach on 1775, he has his own natural variety. But in 20 years later, in 1795, he added the 5th class, brown. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And he also associated the word Caucasian with white.
Mm-hmm.
That came from him. When you see on applications, y'all, when you see on job applications,
so we're looking at
now when y'all see on job applications, white / Caucasian. Yeah, 1795. Called Johann Friedrich Blumenbach.
Yes,
white / Caucasian.
Yes.
That came from him.
Yes.
And he also associated Europeans with as Caucasian, like you see in the 1790 Naturalization Act, the 1790 United States Naturalization Act.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where he applied free white person, a white person, to those commonly belong to European races. All right, 1795.
Interjection.
All right.
Now, and it's interesting, but also common obvious sense, how once you start looking at these things, the etymology of the history becomes obvious, because one thing leads you to another, and you start looking at the connectivity. but you also start looking at the social engineers cognitively and definitively studying each other for political purpose application.
And they did just act, and you know what? You right. Called Francois Bonaire, 1685, and his new division of the earth, called Linnaeus, Johann Friedrich Boombach, and then you have throughout the 18 and 1900s. They throughout the 18 and 1900s, they were that is Taj is correct. How they study each other and they modify and make adjustments to continue. So
now let's
it's quite a few of them throughout the 1800s, quite a few of them throughout the 1900s.
Yes. So now let's look at the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Connection. Social.
All connected. All absolutely.
Right. So now let's look at what is the implication of the Mummer Parade at Philadelphia. Then you have to look
Tie it in. Yep.
Then you have to look at Horace Greeley, the New York newspaper tycoon, and the promotion of the race paradigm through the Whiggamore Party and the Whiggamore Convention 1854 at Philadelphia, and tie that also to the Rockefellers' operations of the education animal husbandry later, 1902. It's all
tied. It's all everything tied.
It is so obvious. And so you look at, even as you were saying earlier, with the modification, conscious modification of the Naturalization Act as amended 1870?
1870, but first comedy was first used when it first was enacted in 1790, and then it ties George Washington. George Washington proposed that.
Yes.
All right. So now, why did that George? Once Taj is correct, they're using Carl Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Boombach. George Washington proposed, all right, that white be used for used for European, but that didn't come from George Washington. Once again, that was called Johann Friedrich Boombach. All right, but that was George Washington proposing that to be put that definition in the 1790 Naturalization Act, because this tied to Northwest Territory. This tied to Northwest Territory. The Northwest Territory. What they did was they populated. Populated. That was that definition. The 1790 United States, the first Naturalization Act, 1790, is a direct correlation of populating the Northwest Territory with Europeans. They brought Europeans in from Europe to populate because they had the business plan, the land ordinance of 1784, land ordinance 1785, the Northwest ordinance of 1787. So George Washington, he's to Virginia. Virginia had the largest claim. Virginia State had the largest claim based on the 1609 and 1619 of Virginia Company's claim. They had the largest claim. Virginia States in the Virginia Secession Act ceded her claim to the federal.
Exactly.
So that's why George Washington was a surveyor. He was tied to the survey company, a major survey company. This is major. This all ties in. It all ties in to their using the definition of the 1790 Act, 1790 Naturalization Act. That commonly counted as European races. That ties to Johann Friedrich Boombach. Taj is correct. It all ties in.
Let me go to law. Let me go to law just as an interjection. right? Common knowledge among scholars, all scholars. You know, this for people who would like to excuse themselves can't excuse themselves.
And we want to qualify law though. We want to qualify that, Taj, because I'm going to read. We're going to read United States Supreme Court case where they use the common understanding meaning of white. So we have that has to be qualified because they will say that law. They're using the common understanding meaning of white for to determine who could be a United States citizen who's not. It's the United States Supreme Court case. Two of them will read.
Yes. And this is page 792, free white persons. Free white persons referred to in the Naturalization Act as amended, as you said, by Act of July the 14th, 1870, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in one statute 103, C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European races, then commonly counted as white. This is the Linnaeus doctrine that you're making reference to.
Yeah, Linnaeus and Johann Friedrich Baumbach, and that's what they use. That's it. That's exactly what they use.
And to their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. So now you're talking about countries. So we're talking about members of countries, and the engineering becomes obvious. So free white persons includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with persons of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. Free white persons includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns, and the Basque and Albanians. Free white persons includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and
but they did not apply those definitions though in the Supreme Court cases.
Yes,
they don't. That was not applied by the judges, by the thousands of judges, in the third early. So we want to talk about its application and its manipulation and its use by thousands of judges in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Thousands of county clerks, judges. They use the common understanding meaning as Todd been Linnaeus. They use the Linnaeus. They use the Johann. That is the definition that the United States Supreme Court used. That is the definition that that the thousands of judges use. And so I want to put that information out to the general people because the listeners are not aware of this. The listeners are not aware of that thousands of judges in the 1900s used the common understanding meaning at clerk offices. They used I'm going to read two United States Supreme Court cases, 1922, 1923. That's why I've said we have to qualify law. We have to qualify that because they would say that remember, they're using it, they're manipulating. They're using a common understanding meaning of white to determine who could be a citizen of the United States and not. These two cases, they were not deemed to be because they did not fit the common man understanding meaning of white. Exactly. They were rejected United States citizenship. Exactly. So we're gonna say this law. We're gonna say So now that's why I said let's qualify that because they're manipulating. They're manipulating. Going back to College is saying Johann Friedrich Baumbach, Linnaeus. All right, how they use that to manipulate for their advantage. And Taj mentioned that, and in the first question, the onset about an hour ago, and how they have manipulated, they have distorted. They have concocted, all right, for their advantage, and you can actually see that in the 1800s, in the 1900s, in the literature, in some cases, and they rejected those to be citizens, rejected people to have service. Donald Trump, hear me out. Donald Trump is using the 1790 Naturalization Act. Look at what Donald Trump is doing. All right, follow me, y'all. Look at what Donald Trump is doing. Look at what Donald Trump is doing.
That's what he's doing.
What is Donald Trump doing? Jasmine
Now,
Crockett. Where are you, Jasmine Crockett? Is Jasmine Crockett on? Come on, Jasmine Crockett. Let me teach you something. Come on, Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, hear me out. Donald Trump is not doing something new, Jasmine Crockett. Donald Trump is pushing for the enforcement of the 1790 United States Naturalization Act. He's not doing something new, Jasmine Crockett.
but she's also being a member of their corporate Congress. She's obligated to do the same thing. Right, wrong, or indifferent, she's obligated to take that position too. And this is the unfortunate social damage that's been done to our people by the miseducation that they complain about. And is that within their concepts of argument, meaning well, she's actually arguing against her own interest. But also in the entry of, even as you were saying, the modification of the Naturalization Act, doesn't amend it mean modify? So
When they did, they continued.
What you're saying without explanation.
But let's do this. There was confusion in the night, and the judges, thousands of judges and clerks were confused. They were confused, despite the amendment in 1870. The confusion was there throughout the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, right? And you see in the 1922, and I'm gonna read cases, 1922 and 1923 United States Supreme Court case used the common understanding, meaning a white, to deny citizenship. There were confusion. They still use the language of the 1800s or 17th centuries.
Yes. Interjection.
I just want because it's important. It's important to deal with how they were using because this affects our lives. This affects our lives and how they continue. We still tying colonnades in and French weapon there. How that was well entrenched. That was because, as you mentioned, Taj, because it was well. You talk about by 1900, by the year 1900.
Yes.
You're talking colonnades, 1758. That's 142 years.
Yes.
That's 142 years. This is important. This is very important. All right. Because this is the social engineering. That's 142 years. We just talking about from 1758. Now we got Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. We can go from 1685, from 1684 to 1900. That's 216 years.
Can I interject?
So when something is well entrenched like that.
Interjection.
So that's part of the social engineering, being well entrenched in the social fabric of the society, whereby thousands of judges, clerks, and so forth was confused about race and how this is major. This is major.
It is major. It is major. But let me interject in support of your argument. My differ with your argument is that I don't excuse them. They weren't confused. They came to the recognition that if they addressed, as you say, the law, right, that they would clash with the Circle Church and Chantry's agenda of the Reconstruction, meaning that indeed, as you argue, they took those positions. I contend that they weren't confused, that they clashed with the political agenda and what was and is, in fact, available to them more than anyone else. And let me qualify. Is it not true that any man or woman in seats of government take an oath, both a sublime and supreme and solemn oath to enforce the Constitution for the United States before taking office? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's the responsibility of the nationals and the citizens to know law and enforce the law, those who take positions of office take an oath on Constitution would include treaties. Is that correct? Yes or not?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is holding a public office, they are exclusively and more supremely held to support and enforce the law than someone who's not holding an office. Am I wrong in saying that? So therefore, the foundation of the contractual obligation, because you're dealing with contractual obligations that make the law, they're more privy to it than the everyday person because their duty to enforce it.
But I'm challenging the use of law, though. With this,
but this is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm challenging the use of the law.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I don't excuse them. I don't say that they made a mistake or.
Oh no, I'm not arguing that against that.
No,
I'm talking about. I'm still.
That they're confused. I'm saying.
Oh, I'm not arguing against that. I'm not. You're good. I'm not arguing against that.
I'm just saying
I'm not arguing against that.
Because of the time period that they were making decisions on them being confused. I say they're not confused.
I'm not arguing against that. I'm good. I'm good on that.
No. I'm just saying the way it's said.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. I'm arguing law. I'm arguing law.
I'm with you.
I'm arguing law. I'm arguing law. I'm arguing the use of Linnaeus. I'm arguing the use of Linnaeus. The Naturalization Act, 1790.
And the modification.
The definition. Yeah. No, I'm talking about the 1790 Naturalization Act. Yes. I'm talking about the 1922, 1923. The common understanding, meaning that being designated as law, that being designated as law, as the 1922 United States Supreme Court case in 1920. I'm about to read that being a lawful decision, that being law, the use of the word law. I'm talking about the use of the word law, tying to Francois Bernier, Linnaeus, being used, drafted in this United States Naturalization Act, being used, that being used as the word law being applied to the 1923 United States Supreme Court case, that the word law being applied to the 1790 Naturalization Act, that the word law being applied. I'm challenging that.
Exactly. And
I'm challenging that.
I'm identifying exactly what you just said to this degree, that in fact, what I'm implying and what I'm saying is they recognize that conflict that you just identified, and they made a choice to support the engineering because of their position.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm with you on that.
I'm saying they weren't confused. they came to a ridge that was evidentiary of distinction between law and a color of law, including a color of office. And they made conscious choices to go with color of the Linnaeus doctrine and under the pretext that they were executing the law. That's what I'm arguing.
Well, you and I, we on the same page, because that's exactly we're the same page.
I'm arguing that they weren't confused. That's what I'm arguing.
No, I know, I'm good, and I'll make it clear their use of the word law being applied to call Linnaeus, Franz Barbener. So let me read the case. Let me read the case summary. Let me read the case summary, 1922. All right, because this is for the audience. All right, this is for the audience.
Yeah.
Ozawa, O-Z-A-W-A versus United States. That's 206, 260 U.S. 178, 1922. The term white, as used in the revised statute, law, is it law?
It's a term, yeah.
2169, and in all the earlier naturalization laws,
yes,
beginning in 1970, applies to such persons as were known in this country as white in the racial sense.
Yes.
When it was first adopted and is confined to person of the Caucasian race.
Yes.
1795, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. He associated with the word Caucasian to white and used Caucasian with European. Is that law?
Now, what you identified is exactly what I said.
We're on the same page. We definitely on the same page. Yeah, we're on the same page.
That's what I'm saying. They weren't confused. They chose to promote a biometric fraud as law, thus established in fact under international law, a biometric fraud which terminates in treason. And they did it cognitely. That's what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
And so it's a cognate misuse of office, malfeasance of office, enforcement of a color of law in a colored venue, unconstitutional, in violation of international law, in violation of the Convention on Genocide, etc., and it was done cognately.
So let me read the 1923 case.
Therefore, they were not confused. That's what I'm saying.
I'm with you on that, bro. We good. United States versus Bhagat Singh. That's BHAG, because I want to put facts on the table. That's why I want to put. I'm a man of facts. I'm out there with facts, evidence. I'm evidence man. Call me evidence. That's my middle name. I'm evidence man.
So
I want the evidence. I want people to know this here. They got, and y'all have, this is in the what's name. Y'all have this. Y'all, this is in the questions. This is part of the questions. That's in the chat. This is in the chat. Somebody put it in the chat. Also, I'll post it again on my Facebook page, and I'll share it as soon as we get done. All right, you already have this. Y'all have this. United States versus Bhagat Singh, BHAGAT, space, capital SINGH, then THIND, 1923. Thind was considered a Caucasian by some scientific definitions. The court ruled that the term white person, that's law, should be interpreted based on the common man's understanding. That's law.
That's fraud.
The court found that because Hindus were not perceived as white by the general population, that's law, they were ineligible for naturalization. That's law.
That was fraud. It was color of law executed under a color of authority and thus established a color of office and thus established, even today, because it's a fraud, that person can still be sued because fraud has no statute of limitation and was a political Linnaeus doctrine agenda enforcement under a color of law and is indeed not. That's a capital N, capital O, capital T, not law.
All right, now the United States Supreme Court, that's for the audience. What the United States Supreme Court did was interpret the 1790 Naturalization Act. So it doesn't start with the United States Supreme Court. Let's follow me. It doesn't start with the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court interprets the statute, the act. The act.
Mm-hmm.
So it started with Congress, all right? So not the United States Supreme Court. They're going to interpret the act, all right? Those commonly counted and belonging to the European race. Those commonly counted 1790 United States Naturalization Act, which comes from what? Carl Linnaeus, Johann Friedrich Boombach.
Now,
so you're looking at
is that not a fraud upon the court?
It's a fraud.
It's not a fraud upon the court.
But I'm saying, all right, we want to clear that where they're interpreting from what though? They're interpreting from the act. We have to still make the tie to the act.
Is that not a breach of their solemn oath to the Constitution? It is. It is and was. Is it not a breach to their position?
The point we're making here with the Carl Linnaeus is how they have manipulated.
Yes.
How they have used, this is what we want the audience to walk away with, is how the Europeans have used the Francois Bernier, Carl Linnaeus, Johann Friedrich Boombach, how they used the race, the fraudulent birthright stealing, race caste system, how they use the caste system oriented, because its origin is the caste system. That's all right. Johann Francois Bernier studied in India for 13 years. He observed the caste system. Where did Francois Bernier get the idea from? From India.
Yes.
Sindhu. He has studied the caste system, ranking, hierarchy. So the idea didn't come from him. He lived in India for 13 years. That's what he got. I want to put that, because I didn't say that earlier. We have to. I'm going to make that connection.
So
all right.
Now we know the geopolitical construct.
Yes.
Yeah. And in particular, in relationship to this, and this would be a good interjection, which I interjected earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for those who are listening, because most of the people that listen to your show are scholars anyway. So this would
they're working towards it. They're working towards that.
Yeah. Well, because if they're listening to this channel, they wouldn't be interested if they weren't. Meaning that.
Oh no, they definitely interested.
So you know, look at this for future reference and recourse. Biometric fraud. When you're dealing with law, whether admiralty or maritime, and law of the land, biometric fraud, and that'll give you a whole nother area of argument for remedy.
Once again, the use of the word law. All right, and the reason I continue to say that, Todd, because I study etymology. Let me. I'm going to continue to argue the use of the word law being applied because we can see here, we can see that. All right, so let's real quick, y'all. Why am I going to continue to say it? Because I know through study how the Europeans have manipulated. They manipulated. All right. So you have the 1648. They have made the modern international law. Modern international law. There are aspects of modern international law that maintain conquest. Hear me out.
Exactly.
This what I know what I'm talking about, y'all. I know what I'm talking about.
Connected with that,
the 1648. The 1648 Peace of Westphalia, the 1648 Peace of Westphalia that ended the 30-year war. They met in Westphalia, 1644 to 1644 to 1664 to 1648.
Yes.
All right. You have the War on Spanish Succession. The War on Spanish Succession that ended the Spanish hegemony.
Yes.
That was a 13-year war, 1701 to 1713. The Treaty of Utrecht and Treaty of Wattstadt. What they did was they made an agreement to not snatch land from one another without a treaty. That's their United Nations. Their United Nations is the Treaty of Utrecht and the two other series of treaties that's tied to that. Yes. And the Peace of Westphalia of 1648.
Yes.
What they did was they applied, they implemented the principles of the Peace of Westphalia and the Treaty of Utrecht and modern international law.
Yes.
That's why I said the use of the word law
does not apply to that.
No, that's all. So that's why I continue. And the issue of the word law, we're showing you. That's why we're showing you how they're manipulating.
They're
constructing.
We are identifying, again, a biometric fraud, which in common language can be talked about as birthright theft. From a law perspective, it would be called a biometric fraud. In general, a birthright theft, but also ultimately treason, which is what I'm saying that they were. I'm saying that contrary to most people thinking that they were confused, I'm saying that they weren't confused, that they cognitively chose to maintain the Linnaeus doctrine for social engineering and for biometric frauds, which is commonly known now as birthright theft. In doing so, they abandoned their any legitimacy of office. Therefore, is malfeasance cognitively executed under the guise of law, and in fact, they weren't confused. Although people may assume they were, I say they were not confused. They were and are, even to this day, cognitively maintaining the Linnaeus doctrine of unum sanctum operations.
And you made it clear earlier, conquest.
Yes.
Conquest. You mentioned conquest. Mentioned conquest. So that the conquest is more is stronger.
And that's for people.
So the conquest.
And that's for people who would imply that your argument is not clear or grounded when it absolutely is. Meaning that any position, anyone defending them on any level is inexcusable.
Now, let me read this statement, Taj. This is from Marion, and I'll post this on my Facebook page. Amanda, Israel, or Albert, Elkanon, Marion Ann Smith. Marion Ann Smith, race, reality, and nationality. Race, reality. Can y'all look that up? Race, Reality, and Nationality by Marianne Smith. She was she since retired. She was a historian for the United States Immigration and Nationalization Office. She wrote the 3-page article. I came across that article in 2010. 2010. Can you get that? Look that up and put that in the chat. I also post that on my Facebook page. Huh?
Go ahead. Repeat that. Her
yes.
name.
Yeah, Marion Ann Smith. Race, reality, and nationality. Race, reality, and nationality is the name of the article. Marion Ann Smith. Yeah, I'm reading that. This is from this article.
Go ahead.
All right. Judges in different jurisdictions had differing ideas of what constitutes whiteness. Many thousands of elected county judges across the nation simply relied on the common understanding of race. Call the names in them. There you go, Todd.
Yes.
An understanding presumably shared by the local community, by the local communities. All right. So that's why I said law.
Exactly. Not
Conquest.
only that,
Taj, that's the Taj. You said it an hour and a half ago. Stick with it. Stay on it. Say it 1,000,000 times. Conquest. 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 We're gonna call it what it is. Conquest. To maintain conquest.
And this is right back to law. So what does the law say? Contrary to what they're saying. So it's right there in the law. It says free white person does not mean Caucasian race. Therefore, they can't accept in the name of law the common perception under the Linnaeus doctrine, which is why I say then and I say again, no, they're not confused, and they weren't confused.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. Amanda put it in my text. She's going to put it, Amanda text it to me, and she's going to put it in the chat.
And so the importance of nationality is indisputably first level. And primal to social, intersocial, international conversation and interchange.
We're looking at 350 years. We're looking at 350 years of their using white. 350 years of their through social. We went through the social engineering. We went through the social engineering. Also color. Associating the etymology of the word color means hide or conceal. The legal meaning of the word color, fake, artificial, a simulacrum, distinguished from that which is real, an appearance, a pretext.
Exactly.
Counterfeit, artificial, having nothing to do with complexion, skin tone, shade, or pigmentation. As Taj mentioned earlier, the origin of the common understanding meaning of color as used by the EEOC and United States courts goes back to 1758, 10th edition of Carl Linnaeus Systema Naturae. The EOC is not using the legal meaning, neither using the legal meaning nor the etymology of the word color. The United States courts are neither using when it comes to the policy, when it comes to the race and color policy. The United States Supreme Court, United States courts are not using neither the legal meaning or the etymology of the word color. When you see it happening, race and color, EOC, they're using the common understanding meaning, which is tied to what? Because it was called Linnaeus in his Systema Natura, just to recap, 1758, where he used the Latin words, black, white, and these are modern English translation, black, white, red, and yellow, for Johann Friedrich Baumbach's 1684 New Division of the Earth classification.
And the law says, color is an appearance, a semblance, a simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real. It is a prima facie or apparent right. Hence, color is a deceptive appearance, a plausible, assumed exterior concealing a lack of reality.
And they ain't using the law. They're not even using the law. The color of law. The EOC is not using the law. The EOC, the United States courts are not using the law. They're using color of law. They're going, call Linnaeus. Let's be more specific. All right. Call Linnaeus. All right. Paradigm of associating black, white, red, and yellow to people of the human family. And he used those words in Latin for Francois Bonner's classification system in his 1684 New Division of the Earth. We want to continue going back to that. I got to continue to rehash that. This is important to understand the social engineering. This is what this presentation is all about.
So let's go again to law. Colored.
Oh yeah, we good. You good.
It has also been held that there is no legal technical signification to the phrase "quote unquote" colored person, that the courts are bound judicially to know. And since they took a solemn oath of authority to run a court,
read that again. Read that again, Todd. Read that again.
So law. This is law.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Has been held that there is no legal technical signification to the phrase "quote unquote" colored person, which the courts are bound judicially to know. Therefore, any person, man, woman, or takes an oath to hold a position, a judicial position, if any court, whether state, local, or federal, is in violation of their oath, because that's the law dealing with status and rights, etc. Therefore, as I said earlier, and I'm going to say again, in harmony with what you said earlier, no, they're not confused. I don't care who it is. They're not confused, never were.
Hey, he talking about you, Jasmine Crockett. Get on him. Jasmine Crockett, he talking about you. Jasmine Crockett, he said you know. He said Jasmine Crockett, he said you acting a fraud. He called you a fraud, Jasmine Crockett.
He
said you know this. Jasmine Crockett.
That's a conscious choice.
What's her name?
And it's a biometric.
What's the word? Maxine Waters. He calling y'all out.
It ain't personal. It's the law. It's the law. It ain't.
We have a task on us, bro. But we're up to it. We have a task on us, but we're up to it.
If they're going to serve the people, then be honest. If they take emolument from the people by
you say y'all breaking the folk. Y'all pretenders.
All biometric fraud. If we're dealing with law, we can't be biased.
Oh,
We
man.
can't be biased. If you're dealing with the facts, you can't be
y'all.
biased.
He said it.
It ain't personal. That's the truth.
Oh, shucks.
You can't practice a color of law and argue against.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. I mean, you know. This has been fun, man. I'm having fun, y'all.
You can't claim.
I'm
You
okay.
can't publicly claim to be a pilot just
Oh,
because you
man.
fly a kite. Dooley, you can't claim to be a pilot just because you fly in kites. Appearances ain't reality.
Yeah, we gotta bring it, y'all. We gotta bring it, man.
We have to start being honest.
Yeah, we gotta bring it, man.
We
Yeah, we gotta bring it, man.
People accountable. You can't be partial.
Yeah, we gotta bring it, man.
These people got degrees, Abdullah.
Well, yeah, they got law degrees. Yeah.
And they took solemn oath to the Constitution.
Well, they did that too.
Therefore, they're not excused. So if they're going to argue with anybody about immigration, they have to be competent with the Naturalization Act, of which they took an oath, because that's part of the socialization structure. So in nation principle, right? And so if you take a public office, you're dealing with the issues of nations. Politics is dealing with the issues of nations, right? Therefore, the naturalization deals with alien statuses. Am I correct? Therefore,
yeah, absolutely.
If anybody's arguing it, or if anybody's holding a public office and that controversy comes up, you're dealing with diversity. Article 3, Section 2. Therefore, you can't argue it with Linnaeus.
No, you can't. No, he's correct now. He's right. You are right. You right.
You got to argue it with
You're
law.
right. Yeah, you can't. He 100% correct. Because when you're dealing with naturalization, all right, because you tell people from other countries now, all right.
Exactly. So
this is serious. This is serious.
It's not only domestic; it's foreign.
He's absolutely correct.
They take an oath to protect domestic. Tell me,
because you have just solely and just sanguinis. Those are principles that they apply in international law. He's right. International law that the countries apply. He's right. It's foreign. You're right. You also have what's called naturalization treaties too. You have they got the areas of naturalization treaties. You got collective naturalization. No, he's correct. You're right.
So if you're dealing with immigration problem, aren't you dealing with the Nationalization Act? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are you not dealing with just soleil?
And then just sanguinis, and depending on that, depending on whether the country adopts that into their to law. Yes.
Somebody that you don't like because a political party is not part of your argument, is it?
No, absolutely not. Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Oh, all right.
Oh no.
So if somebody's doing that, they're violating the people, the trust. Aren't they violating the public trust? If they're arguing a Linnaeus common,
they can't. Yeah, that's why I said that ain't law. They can't argue that.
Exactly.
They can't argue that. No, I'm with you. Wait.
Exactly.
That's why we spent 2 hours talking. That's the whole point. But we want the people to know that we wanted to give a thorough and tell you that you did a great job, brother. This is good. This is very, very good. I'm having a good time with this. This is an area I've been studying for years. So I love this. This is my thing, man.
If they're really trying to serve the interests of the people, they've got to get out of their own biases and deal with the law. And deal with their solemn oath.
They get out of the social engineering.
Exactly.
Get out of that social engineering.
Because the Party Isn't the Whiggamore
because
Party argument?
the bias is based in this the bias is actually social engineered though. To that,
That's the whole point.
well, all
So,
right,
in
well,
other words, they're
we good.
sacrificing the rights of the people to argue the Whiggamore
All right, well, yeah,
split
you right,
argument of
you right,
1854
you
to,
right. That
to
it's tied.
protect,
It's
to
they
protect
incorporated
the
that.
interests of their
They
party.
incorporated that.
They're sacrificing the interests of the people by promoting the fraud of the Carlos Linnaeus mind control phenotype operation for establishing and maintaining an artificially injected caste system under a color of law and under a color of authority. I yield the floor on that.
All right. So we've gone 2 hours. Taj, I want to thank you, brother. I'm going to read the I'm going to read 'cause I want to sign off. All right. So this is Moors of History Part 1. I read this at the beginning. I want to read it at the end. I'm gonna read it again. This is the announcement that I wrote for Taj. I wrote this in 2016. I owe much gratitude to my brother Taj for opening up his library to me. He exposed me to a whole new world of light, guiding me on the journey of freedom. Brother Taj is a true liberator, breathing life into Noble Drew insightful state wisdom. In order to change the people, you must change their literature. So I humbly present this light with the guidance of the great cosmic mother to humanity. Thank you, Brother Taj, for inspiring me to write. All right, so anyone who's interested in getting more information, Part 1, the Masonic Compass Square, the connection, the measurement, the timekeeping, how Venus and Moon rule, etymology and vocabulary, supplementary 1, the Illuminati and the illumination of the mind, go to, as across the screen, mooresandmasonry.org. mooresandmasonry.org. I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Naila. Thank you, Dr. Naila, for your assistance. I greatly appreciate you for assisting me with this. Greatly appreciate you. Give Dr. Naila a hand, everyone. Give Dr. Naila a hand for assisting me, all right, with Brother Taj today. All right, greatly appreciate her.
And
Dr. Naila, I want to have Taj back for Black History Month. I did talk to Taj about that after he finished his first show. Have him back for Black History Month. Todd, we could probably do a rendition of this. Well, you and I will talk. We probably will expand on this because this will be prime for Black History Month when we can expand on this, Taj. All right, this will be great.
For collectors' purposes, I'll try to we'll try to meet up. And I'll sign a couple of your books for you. We'll both sign them.
Yeah, we'll both sign them. We can do that. Yeah, that people will love that. Yeah.
Yes, that'll make that historical collectible.
Yes. All right. So thank you, Brother Hank. 2 years, man. Thank you for riding with me, brother. Having me for 2 years. All right. So I'm now approaching, I'm in my third year on Magnus Crystal's Pyramid YouTube, Moorish Monday with Abdullah Bey. Who do I have? Oh, yes, Abundance Child will be in the house. We got Abundance Child for the third time. Sister Abundance Child. Taj and I have known Sister Abundance 15 years, Taj. Right?
Yes.
About that.
Make sure she emails us some food.
You hear that, Abundance? You be listening? All right, so we have a Sister Abundance Child next week in the house for the third time. All right, so that'll be, and then we have what's that? That's the 15th, right? And then Elkanan, brother Elkanan, every fourth Monday of the month. Brother Elkanan, brother Elkanan is going to be doing the Christmas, the astronomical and mathematical origin of Christmas. I have stepped aside, y'all. I have stepped aside from doing the holidays. All right. So brother Elkanan has taken up the torch, and he will be doing all of the holiday presentations. So I have stepped aside and given the torch to brother Elkanan. I've known for 7 years, and 33 degree Mason, Shriner. All right. So he will be doing anything. He can do the Valentine's Day. He can do January 1st, January 20th. He can do St. John's Day. He can do Christmas. He can do, all right, so he can break it down. And because he has a math background, I said this to him 7 years ago, you'll be able to do it more effectively than I have been able to do it, because you adding the math element, which is a major element. Yes. The math element. So brother Elkanan, he's listening to me right now, and I know he's smiling. All right. So he'll be in 2 weeks. He'll be doing the astronomical, mathematical connection to Christmas. And then I have Sister Salah, Todd. Sister Salah in the house. So the fifth Monday. All right, we have 5 Mondays in this month. So Sister Salah will be joining us for the first time. Todd and I have known Sister Salah since 2013 for 12 years, 12 and a half years, because it was early part of 2013. Yeah. All right, so almost going on 14 years. So Sister Salah is a teacher. Sister Salah is, she is earning a PhD in linguistics. All right. Salah is earning a PhD in linguistics. All right. Sister Salah will be joining us in the house. She's a teacher, and she is a PhD candidate. All right. Earning her PhD in linguistics. Right on. All right. So I'm definitely excited. So thank you again. Once again, thank you, Dr. Naila, for your support. Humbly thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button. You haven't done so. Don't forget to subscribe and let people know where we're on. This has been dynamic, Taj. Dynamic, man. Oh, man, we knocked it out the park, brother. I salute you, brother. Peace, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Beta Makam. Islam. Peace.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Alhamdulillah. Dr. Sanada Kamara, co-founder of Temple Mother Earth, sending love, peace, and abundance prayer to everyone around the world.